Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Crypto talk with Thomas G.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat, mining sprees, and we're farming all around, including heat.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat, mining sprees, and we're farming all around, including. Got me on Navex and bought me some Joe. Farming go crazy, you know how it goes. Zoopy on Phantom, I got a few nodes. Sticking my Rex, you know I'm gon' hold. Getting these calls from the dog pound. Buy my dot for the next round. Now I'm coming up off the compound. Got my drip off the rebound. Getting these calls from the dog pound. Buy my dot for the next round. Now I'm coming up off the compound. Got my drip off the rebound. Crypto talk with Thomas G.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat, mining sprees, and we're farming all around, including heat.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat, mining sprees, and we're farming all around, including heat.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat, mining sprees, and we're farming all around, including heat.
Woo! All right. Welcome to R2R live stream number 124, guys. Happy Friday to everybody out there in the crypto space. Today is a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Everything's a good day. You know, when you're on this side of the grass, right? Even in Pulsechain, it's a beautiful day. Good and bad. You know, you gotta play your cards, right? So we're gonna go through the cards we got, you know, drawn out here today. But always remember, if you're on YouTube, post notifications, hit the like button, subscribe. If you're over on Twitter, aka X, the freedom of speech platform, my gosh, retweet this, right? Hashtag Pulsechain, hashtag PDAI, everything. Get that algorithm going, all right? Welcome. Let's see who's in the house. Teddy P, what up? Welcome. Let's take a look. $1,000 we turned into 14K. On which ticker? Which ticker? What up, G? What up? Core coins are you buying right now? We'll look. We'll take a look. Let's see. PDAI, risk it for the biscuit. Trisket. Biscuit. Sir, will cores recover from the PDAI crash? We're going to get through that. We're going to cover all of that. Sold PDAI at the bottom. All right. Don't forget. Don't ever allow a social media influencer on any social media platform out there to influence you when it comes to cryptocurrency. Because you could get wrecked. You could lose it all. You got to do your research. All right. This is pure entertainment purposes only, in my point of view. Now let's get into it. All right. Let's take a look at the price of Pulsechain today. 4 zeros and a 268. Damn, Gina. Damn. That is not what you want to wake up to. But I believe after this cleanse, you know, we're going to have some up and to the right action in the near future. Pulsechain, 4 zeros and a 239. Inc. $1.38. Well, it hit good old Soda's $1.17 prediction he made, and then it just went boom because Richard, you know, cut the emissions, cut it in half, cut it. Right? It looks like, hey, it's coming on down. Will it meet that target? 2 zeros and a 658. It was good buying Hex at that price several months back. Can't remember. Was it October, September, something like that. It was nice to get a good bag. It was nice. It really was. Well, PDAI would be at 1K to 14K gains. If you bought the bottom, I don't know what you mean. Pulsechain Inc. have great buying opportunities. That they do. Let's take a look at good old PDAI today. Talk about what happened. And this has been like, for me, it's a great name. It's good and bad, right? Like, Pulsechain is going to go through a cleanse. We've been talking about this week, right? I was saying, like, the things that are going to thrive if, in fact, you know, I was telling both sides of the fence, if it pegs what it's going to do to the entire to the entire market in a positive factor. For if any reason that happened, remember, everything's pure speculation. But on the flip side, this exploiter continues to exploit Richard Hart tweets. You never know, right? I didn't expect that, but we were all out there like, bro, like, say something. Well, message delivered. He said something. We'll look at that shortly here. He sure as hell said something. But I've been talking about the effects on the collapse of PDAI, what it would do to this market, and it would bring down, the LPs that are heavily bonded, like the PTGC, the UFOs, the teddy bear, and PDAI either goes to zero or it drops drastically and just has a lifespan of how far the community wants to take it, right? So it's not done officially. It's been disowned by Richard, like the nod of non-approval. But the way I see it is the community is going to hang on to every thread they can up until the point where these Willy flop auctions, if they don't work, right? If it triggers and nothing happens, then they will capitulate and they'll shut. Now, while the OA address was dumping last night, Richard Hart starts tweeting. He said, we'll look at the transaction. He sent a warning shot and then a tweet, and then he dumped more. But during that process, the exploiter was minting more PDAI and selling simultaneously. It was a crazy night. If you look at the chart here, I mean, this all happened also fast. I mean, it's unbelievable. Did the 1 month, what? It's sad to see, but I think it's gonna be very, very good for the overall space. A lot of people were celebrating yesterday. I was in those Twitter spaces. I had some conversations in the past 2 days where I interacted with the guys. I forget the names. I know, like, there was Tommy was in one of them. I think B Roots was in two of them. I had like a short interaction with him as I was talking. Didn't say really much to each other. He just kind of said, "Oh, I said that too," along the lines of that. But everybody's pretty cool, man. Like, everyone's pretty cool. I think everyone realizes, like, the two sides of the fence here are save Pulsechain or keep on pushing this narrative that's hurting potentially the chain, which we saw was bringing down the tokens because of the heavy bond. It's sad in a sense where the SEC hit us with that case the end of July 2023. Pulsechain had already been a ghost town. Like, there wasn't much going on. There wasn't people building. It was just cores. Maria shows up with this Atropa web that supports this PDAI theory. Over time we experience, thousands of X's, 10,000 X literally with PDAI. The spark of PTGC was influenced and inspired by that movement with the Atropa ecosystem, UFO, a lot of things, Maria brought to the table with ideas and showed us Hart's Law, right? Hart's Law was talked about and expressed in what you see with the heavy bonding between, ETH and Bitcoin, and then Ethereum and the rest of the market with like ERC20s and how they're bonded to these assets. But Maria put it to work. And then everybody figured out, like, how Hart's Law really works. We saw it in real time. So it was a gift that kept on giving. And then it turned into like massive speculation that got stronger and stronger. And the head of the snake, the head of that led that forefront of effort to create this snowball effect narrative was Nine Iron Capital and Decentralized Me. Put in a lot of work, those guys. Some might look at it and go, it was a long game, scam. They're behind it. They're extracting. They're the ones. They know the most about it that we're aware of. They're the ones exploiting it. That on my level, me personally, I can never prove. You could speculate that, and people are. You're free to do that. But now we don't have to guess what Richard's feeling because not only did he talk to us through the blockchain, he expressed on the tweet as well. Well, let's go through the speech because the way Richard really likes to speak out loud the most is through blockchain. And it was actually the OA address sending funds to this address here ending in 5953. So if you saw it happening live yesterday, you saw when this wallet received about 11 hours and 41 minutes ago, 278,915,977 DAI fork PDAI. And the timing between the warning shots was a pretty large gap, I would say, for you, like, hey, it's time to sell, right? I feel like it was to people speculate this is a warning shot so they can get out for the dump, or there's other speculation that hey, he's shaking people out. Like these are the guys that are hanging on to that thread, and I don't blame them, right? You spend every day of the past, going on 2 years almost speculating, and that speculation gets stronger and stronger, and you get this close to the goal line. You're like on the 1 yard line. It felt like for most of them, I would imagine. And this happens, you're like it's only second, third down, right? You might have the ball might have already turned over and it might be done. You might have lost, but we'll see. It looks like they might have a couple downs left. But Richard first sold 1 million PDAI in the Pulsechain. 3 minutes later, another million in the Pulsechain. 1 minute later. And then between the gap between these two transactions here, it looks like it was roughly 27 minutes apart. So you got a few warning shots. 27 minutes later, he sells a small amount of 100,000 PDAI. Right? Like, guys, you saw what I sold. Here's a small amount. In between that, it was 1 minute later, he just started the 1 million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million, and he stopped, sits. Right? And it actually sparked the exploiter who has been exploiting the P-Maker contract to panic mint. He started minting like crazy and dumping. So there was mass. There was nothing you could do at that point. Gas fees were crazy. It was like, oh man, like sit back and grab the popcorn and relax. That was interesting. And then you go on the Twitter Spaces and you're seeing all the speculations and theories going crazy, like absolutely nuts. And I'm a guy that's going to listen to both sides. Like, I'm not going to definitely say like this is over. It looks to be over, but the cleanse is happening now in real time. And the evidence and what he showed on chain and what he said point to the fact that it's probably, he's done with it. Like my speculation here, if I'm being 100% honest with you, I think this has been an experiment that went bad. I think Richard might have had something to do with it, like in talks with these people, and maybe it didn't work out, and both sides knew it wasn't going to work, and the side that was, obviously conversing with him about it started exploiting it, and he called them out. He's tweeted about PDAI in the charts, which when you post a chart, it's usually to build a bullish sentiment. But then on the other side, they're like, well, he's just telling the ETH bros to dump their free PDAI. Yeah, I can see both. I could see both. So it's weird. Like the topic is so sensitive between both sides. It just angers people. Uh, but that's just kind of my thought, right? Because now he's definitely said like, "Hey, somebody's mentioned it," but he could have said something along the lines of this a long time ago. So a lot of people are saying Richard didn't know that this guy had exploited it already previously, weeks or months ago. Some people are saying that it started a couple months back. It's happened the whole time. It's hard to believe he didn't know. I don't know, man. 9 hours ago. Let's take a look. The tweet after the tweet. So this was not the original tweet. If we look at the first one he posted, and he replied to it too, he puts this chart here. It says something has inflated the PDAI supply by multiples. Free DAI fork. PDAI, first time he's ever put PDAI, has 24.5 billion supply. DAI had 10 billion at the Ethereum fork. Who's minting that supply and why are they? It's rumored dumping it and bridging out, question mark. I don't, his choice of words, I think that's what gets people going. His choice of words did create some hope. Like it's rumored. And then he put bridging out, question mark. Like, Richard, as smart as you are, I don't think you're going to ever see this live stream video or anything. But as smart as you are, dog, you know damn well it was bridging out. But why the question mark? Or why put it's rumored? It's not a rumor. It was being bridged out. The rumors and speculation is it being bridged out and never going to come back, or is coming back in to do good, or just completely to do harm. So his choice of words is even giving the PDAI people some hope. I can see how they're picking up on some of that energy. I see that, I'm not a maxi on that side of the fence. I'm a money maxi, bro. If I see opportunity to buy the dip, I'm going to buy the dip. Reason why I went out and grabbed him on the dip, which cost me a hefty gas fee, is because I saw Firewhale buying some. Firewhale was just firing off, flipping. So I was like, hey, he's buying the dip. Probably the hold, but I could flip. Right? I'm not selling PDAI. My PDAI bag, I'll write it to zero. It's not the first token I wrote to zero. Yeah. Yeah, I'm buying more. What's up, Byron Finance? I panic sold it all. RH got me, JK. The other problem is we are in a bear market at the moment. When Bitcoin goes to 50, 60K and bottoms out, when it starts going back up, we'll pull everything else back up. Damn, let's see. Probably best to panic in the stables and buy back when we start to go back up. Oh, we sold 3.69% of the PDAI holdings. I saw that one too. This might be the bottom. I mean, yeah, until the bottom to me, right, is in progress. The cleanse. Pulsechain begins after this comes to an end, which means they got to drain out the swamp with the LPs. Like, some LPs can't just remove their liquidity. It's burnt, like with PTGC. But if the exploiter gets stopped somehow because, there's no more tied liquidity and it drains out, everything will continue to go down. Then we'll be at a bottom. And Pulsechain begins, right? We can move on. Just got to go through an exorcism. You've ever watched an exorcism in a movie? Spinning head and the vomit and all that stuff? How it's going to be. That's how it's been, right? That's how it's been. And then he puts, Pulsechain can never inflate. It only burns daily. Like, damn. That's a straight shot. Pump.tire coins can never inflate after they graduate to Pulsechain. Shilling Pump.tires. Hex is capped at 3.69% inflation. Pulsechain has lower inflation than Ethereum. Coins with admin keys or general substitute can just hyper inflate and die. PDAI is rumored that it is this is a spread. PDAI it's rumored that this is a spreadsheet of guys that are minting and dumping. Perhaps they could do that forever. Coins that don't hyperinflate to death are cool. Why does it keep saying rumor? It's the verbiage is this is where people come up with like, oh, it's the 5D chess, 3D chess. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. All right. He's just throwing those little darts of hopium at people's hearts. Like, let me get you back in. But regardless of like the outcome of PDAI, you know, like I've been saying, if we go look at Teddy Bear, this was always going to take a backseat to Richard Hart's takeover, which Richard's like, everything that has been a success on my chain is what I hate the most, and it goes against my ethos. Meme tokens, no utility, they're worthless. Creates pump fun. Most token is most likely connected to him, and pump tires, right? So I've said, you want the number one meme, you get most. You want the number two meme, you get pump, right? Teddy was going to take a backseat. There's no way he was going to continue to let Maria just dominate the chain with all the success, because the entire success of Pulsechain has been the Atropa ecosystem and everything that was inspired by that. So RH came heavy with the takeover. And it might have been because he was sniffing a victory with the SEC, was finally ready to do that. And the way he works is he ain't going to let some transformer take the glory. I'm being honest with you. He's not. He's got way too big of an ego for that. Right? Whether it helped the chain or not, you never once heard him say, like, shout out to the Atropa ecosystem for giving this volume and hope for the past, going on 1.5 years while I sat around and, built nothing other than the core tokens and the copies that you got that you received, the free airdrop, right? He didn't make anything that went multiple X's. The free copies went up with the help of a narrative that was helped build by Maria. So you think Richard wants to be second place to that? I don't think so. That does not sound like RH to me. No way. He competes with everybody. Everybody. Called the top of the day. All that's he mentioned. How many times has he mentioned he called the top of the day, the Christmas, the Christmas top, this and that, the Judas candle wick, all these things he brags about, man. It's not a person that's like, yeah, my chain's cool because somebody's running it for me right now. Like, I'll let them get the glory. Like, nah, man. He capitalized the day after Maria wet the bed because of the exploit. So, I mean, if you're putting 2 and 2 together, which unless there's something going on behind the scenes, all you have is the evidence in front of you as far as the blockchain when Maria started selling Atropa. All we have to go by is the very next day, he just put old Yeller to sleep. That was it. So, let's go to full screen so you guys can see. I'm not sure. There's going to be so much theories going around, so much like hopium and all that. But we're going to just continue to see. I don't know if the minter is minting today still at this point. Probably as I'm doing lives, maybe minting. But we still have just this wallet here to see if Richard continues to sell it, right? Which hurts the chain, but for the greater good. For the greater good. And once we have this cleanse and we get rid of this problem through just exiting the liquidity, then making it less and less. Like if we take a look at the LP right now, it's diddly squat. So what's going to happen is the LP has literally cut down drastically. It's going back up and people are buying. Cuts down drastically, pumped because it's low. So like it's like a long-going, sustaining problem at this point for the way some people see it, right? Or PDAI's not going anywhere, regardless of the narrative dying off in the sense where you're like, well, P-Maker's broken, RH doesn't back it, we can still get this to $1. That's what, that would be, it just goes to a straight meme status, which if it just stays in the meme status, there's a community there, then anything can happen. Anything could probably happen. But I feel like the hardcore, if you want to call them maxis, or people who are tired of like seeing Pulsechain suffer, and now they're seeing more pain and suffering due to the exploit, are probably happier just saying, okay, keep your PDAI, but just keep it at a meme status. But if you want to keep it at a meme status, you're going to go get the pump tires one, which basically, the way I saw his delivery in the tweet, right? The way I see that delivery in the tweet, it's telling me he's like, you better off going on pump tires and buying a PDAI copy there, a PDAI meme token there, for the simple fact that it can't inflate beyond its 1 billion token supply. That's how I read it. And maybe that's how a lot of other people read it too, including Herman, who was like, I'm going to sell all my PDAI here and buy this one. So maybe Herman knew what was going on. Saw the exploit here. Pumped the price. Right? But then that lets me know if Herman knew, Richard Hart knew too. More than what, 10 days ago, going on 2 weeks ago, and said nothing? That's insane. I think Maria should mint more Atropa. Pulse is already tanked. Might as well tank Atropa for more gains on the way up. That's how I read it. I wouldn't touch PDAI anymore. I basically, he brought up pump tires and gave you the hidden 3D chess message. The way I see it was like, there's a PDAI on pump tires. We can't go beyond 1 billion. He gave you the figures already on PDAI, the fork copy, the free copy, on how much it's inflated. He gave you the spreadsheet of addresses that are doing it. I mean, there's no other way for him to deliver that message other than just coming out, and which he already has came out and called people stupid. You know, he's saying it right here. One of the stupidest things in crypto is when people pretend a coin was founded by someone or secretly supported by someone. It sounds stupid as, yeah, man, Satoshi's actually behind this coin. Tell the truth. It's better than lying. Tell the truth. Right? But people see it the way they see it. They speculate. A lot of influencers, right? They come out and they give their opinion. And, you know, for example, shout out to the coach. He gave his opinion. I don't think Richard Hart's tweet on March 19 was specifically or directly talking about PDAI and Pulsechain. Now we know. You know, coach, what a concept. Costco coach. We call a Costco coach not to be mean, but that's because before all this Atropa ecosystem blew up, Howie was a manager at Costco. So Costco coach is kind of fit. But he goes by Coach X. Gave his opinion. I think a lot of people held on to that. Just reporting what Grok said, which is interesting because he must not know, and what a concept, by the way, Grok, that Grok basically picks up all the data and information that's being tweeted. And if the opinion is, let's say, 60% lopsided in favor and thinking that he wasn't talking about PDAI, then it's going to say there's like a 60% chance that it was that particular response overall from the data it collects, like all over the internet, but mostly what it sees on Twitter, right? 60% of people think that Richard wasn't talking about PDAI, and it's going to say that stat, versus maybe 99%, for example, think it was. It'll mention that. So it's not like a chat GPT style where you go on there. Like Grok may not even, I don't think Grok even recognizes how the P-Maker contract even works, or most smart contracts. It just goes based off data that people provide and tweet. From my understanding, so the Grok explanation is kind of like, I don't know what you're doing there. So did RH confirm the supply of PDAI went up? The tweet read started at 10 billion, is now at 26 billion. Yeah, he talks about that. If you break it down, ETH, remember Ethereum. When Ethereum launched its version, right? DAI, because remember, he's saying PDAI here referring to his chain, but DAI had under 10 billion at the Ethereum fork, right? So that means Ethereum, when it was forked over, had 10 billion DAI, which brought over 10 billion PDAI, and now has inflated, right, to 24.5 supply now. And it's going up. So Ethereum DAI had 10 billion. Pulsechain launches, it forks. It had 10 billion too, right? When it crossed over, got forked, airdropped. Now the free copy sitting at 24.5 billion. So at 2.5x, it has inflated the PDAI supply. That right there is a problem. Now, going back to the hidden messages, PDAI on pump tires, if you want to speculate on a going to $1 or anything along the lines of, you know, something that will never inflate versus something that has 2.5x in inflation already, pump tires can't do that at 1 billion. So it's weird. I don't know. Not Roots. If Richard Hart is going to sue the SEC, that he needs evidence of financial loss and emotional repute damage. Having this dump follow SEC extension is ideal for this evidence. He needs evidence of financial loss. I don't know if that's something that he's going to pull out because he owes taxes. He's officially on the run for tax evasion. So I don't think there's going to be any sympathy for any losses when you haven't paid your taxes. I don't know if you're going to have a strong argument there. Like, I took losses on this crypto. Oh, you did? Well, let's forget that you owe $200 million plus to the Finland government, and let's take care of you. I don't think that'll be something. Started with the ink farms being slaughtered, etc. This is all feels like a controlled demolition of liquidity to ultimately pump the chain. Let's see. Yeah, some fishy there. Appreciate the insight. Did the SEC damage crypto? Technically, no. We did. All they did was go through the legal processes they do with cryptos, whether it's an attack, but the people who damaged Pulsechain are the people who sold. How else does that happen? I mean, they're just going and saying, "Hey, this guy raised $1 billion. Let's investigate. If it's a security and this was an illegal, raise, then we got him. If not, which they proved not, then we did it. But when a crime is committed, right, you go through a process, whether the person did it or not, whether the person's guilty or not. And the charges here it was a fraud case. Trump says otherwise. Trump's only been in office for 3 months. So, now all that applies, possibly, but at the time, Trump wasn't in office. So Richard Hart raised over $1 billion. Used the term sacrifice. He was very clever with it. Probably why he is walking away with not an issue. It probably won't be an issue. That is another country. It doesn't all float together. Are we at the ETH bottom? I read on Twitter that ETH on exchanges are sitting at a 10-year low since 2015. ETH is some old technology. That's what's going on. And what happens to old technology? It gradually loses market cap to things that are up and coming, right? We talk about this all the time. And it's got to share and lose market cap to a thriving Solana BNB that's built on it and faster, more efficient. It's got CZ backing. It's it's even got to share market cap with things that are not smart contracts, that are not competition, right? They're just different blockchains, operate differently. So maybe this cycle we see the death of meme tokens, and the next cycle we see utility come. And if there's some awesome new utility and a better way to do smart contracts more efficient, you're just going to see that technology continue to crumble. Vitalik didn't pivot quick enough, in my opinion, to make Ethereum great again. It was awesome when it first came out, the first of its kind. So was the VCR. I remember when we first got a VCR, I was like, oh, like, it might have not been new, but it was new to me, and it lasted these several years. And then the DVD came. I went to a friend's house, like, DVD discs. Next thing you know, everyone had one, and no one had a VCR. If you had a VCR, you were poor, which we had a VCR for a long time. We didn't even get a DVD player until Blu-ray came out, and that was old. So it was a slow transition for the poor people like me. Do you think Richard was ever stream again like old days? I miss the good old days with candles and Rolexes. Probably not until he is not on a most wanted list, I would imagine. Some crypto roundtable was saying Vitalik should tax the layer 2, similar to what RH was saying, because there are vampires to the chain. Yeah, there's a lot he could do. There's a lot he didn't do and hasn't done. I don't think he really cares anymore. It doesn't seem to be too drastically worried about it, right? That's to be honest. I think he's just, maybe he's building something else. Maybe he is going to come up with a different tech to upgrade it and make it, great again. Until then, who knows? Who knows? Let's take a look here. Oh, yeah, let's go see if any of these any action going on with the OA wallet. It's just receiving random tokens. Oh man, Vitalik doesn't care. Now Vitalik is not the same Vitalik he was when ETH was a brand new technology. It's not that same guy. He has so much money now. He's got politicians in his pocket. He's in the pocket of politicians. He's operated differently than, like, let's say, a Richard Hart, who people hate him. Richard is a threat against the entities that are out there that are decentralized, showing people on how you should really operate. Takes money out of the big guy's pocket, right? If you should truly operate with the mindset of not your keys, not your crypto, ladies, leverage, and liquor are bad for you. The leverage part and the decentralized part takes money out of their pocket, and people realize that's dangerous, and you shouldn't give them your keys. But people trust them because they trust banks. So one day, when banks fail and people lose their money and they no longer have that trust, maybe they'll apply that into the crypto space and say, I should not be giving my money after the banks and after FTX and all the others that collapsed. We're a long ways away. RH is going to fork Sonic next. Yeah, if he has a sacrifice, I'm out. If he has a sacrifice for a wallet, I'm out. I just want, I'm at the point with Pulsechain where if we get a set of gains down the road, that would be great. But I want to get out because it's basically a fork of some old tech. No one's excited about Pulsechain right now. Everybody is suffering, and everybody has the same sentiment because anytime a pump happens, they sell into it. So we'll at one point could be gifted some green candles, but that's going to be my exit. And I'll go just build somewhere else where I just don't have to really deal with what a founder's doing or tweeting or anything like that, right? Like I gave it a try. I've been around doing it for a long time, but like I'll be honest with you. If we get gains, I'm out. All right. And will I come back? Yeah, at an extreme bottom to make more gains and then leave again. The future of Pulsechain, the sentiment right now across the board with this whole PDAI thing is, I think it's obvious that people are thinking you could have told us this shit a long time ago, right? Or let's say it was one big elaborate shakeout, like not elaborate, one massive like genius planned shakeout. People are going to be really pissed. They did get shaken out. That would just be some sick joke, right? That'd be a sick joke. Like, are you kidding me, dog? Like you shook me out on purpose, and now my position could be life-changing gains. That's gonna really upset some people. So I kind of hope that's not the case. You never know with Richard, though. But could you imagine people that had, life-changing PDAI, and then they get intentionally shaken up, and not only Maria and Richard, and then it does peg, but that he just distanced himself as being responsible. But he's just like, oh, look, it's rumored that they fixed the P-Maker contract and it pegged. There's going to be a lot of pissed off people. I don't think that's something you want to deal with. So I just hope for the greater good, because people are already mad that it went out this long. I just think I hope that's the case. It could be. It could be. If so, if he did shake the tree, it definitely wouldn't be the first time. But it would have just been so massive of just like, if he looked like a scammer before, I'm thinking people are thinking he's a scammer now. Unfortunately, because it's hard to believe that he didn't know that this contract had some things going on with it, and this could happen. And it's like, why are you telling us now, Richard? You let us go through all of this. Richard gets blamed for all good and all bad, all good and all evil, right? My question would even be like, hey, bro, like, look at these peaks. Look when the vote. People were tagging you and excited about this P-Maker vault here. Why didn't you come out in December, give us a nice Christmas present, and tell us like the truth? You just talked about the truth. Like, why didn't you say anything? Why did you let this play out? And I only thought the reason why he wouldn't have said anything, because at the time he thought it was going to happen. He thought it was going to work. But for the guy that's called out just about every centralized scam in crypto, to not come out and warn us this entire time, like, I have nothing to do with this. This is a crazy narrative. Be careful. It's mind-boggling. It doesn't make sense. But then maybe he just doesn't make sense anymore, because then this happens at the beginning of February. He launches pump tires, which also doesn't make sense as part of the Richard Hart ethos. This guy's becoming harder and harder to read. You just don't know anymore. It's like the safe bet, in my personal opinion, right? Not telling you, but for me, it's like, have a little skin in the game. Like with this PDAI stuff, not enough to like damage you, but enough to like do some damage in a good way if it does peg, because this guy's unpredictable. And there's some things going on here. One of them is you got to break down the fact that what person goes on the run for tax evasion? You either have to be like John McAfee, who's like paid tens of millions in taxes and it's unconstitutional, but he streamed on boats and areas where he couldn't be, found, and gave his point. It's like, I'm telling everything about the government. Like, he was different. They might have killed him, they might have not. But either way, Richard's on the run for the same thing. He didn't pay taxes. And if it was just like a big oops, like, oh, I misfigured, I didn't, I figured I owed this amount, and this is what I was told. Let's clear it up. Disappeared. They can't find it on a most wanted list. So the person that does that is going to be the same person that you have to trust at this point. And do you trust someone like that? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So speculating on both sides of the fence right now is like, it just feels like the safer bet for me personally. And if you bought this dip, you're like, oh, I'm pretty smart here. 103% in 6 hours. Maybe it's down 300% in the next 6 hours, though. And then it recovers again. In his tweet, he never said sell PDAI. Let's see. In his tweet, he never said sell PDAI. I never said it's a scam. You think he cannot just say it? Maria and RH are doing it while it functions stress testing. Look at the name of the Maria stream. Cool. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. But that's enough for today, guys. Appreciate y'all being here. Don't forget to smash the like button. Till next time. We'll do it again. Yeah.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Crypto talk with Thomas G.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat. Mining sprees. And we're farming all around, including heat.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat. Mining sprees. And we're farming all around, including got me on Avex and bought me some Joe. Farming go crazy, you know how it goes. Zoopy on Phantom, I got a few notes. Sticking my Rex, you know I'm gon' hold. Getting these calls from the dog pound. Buying my dot for the next round. Now I'm coming up off the compound. Got my drip off the rebound. Getting these calls from the dog pound. Buying my dot for the next round. Now I'm coming up off the compound. Got my drip off the rebound. Crypto talk with Thomas G.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat. Mining sprees. And we're farming all around, including heat.
Yeah, dog.
Bringing heat. Mining sprees. And we're farming all around.